Welcome to Crime Family. I'm your co-host, Katie, and I'm here with my sister and brother, Steph and AJ, who are also my co-hosts, as always. And we also have a guest. As you can see, there's 4 of us here. And this is actually our other sister, Lisa. So, yay, welcome to the podcast.
What's up? Happy to be here.
We've been trying to get her on since the beginning, and this is the first time it actually worked out. So hopefully she makes it through the whole thing. If she leaves in the middle of it or something happens, then just don't be alarmed. Okay.
Could be due to technical issues, so we'll just hopefully it doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. You never know what's going to happen. Okay, so today we are going to be exploring the mysterious disappearance of Kimberly Ann McAndrew. And she was a 19-year-old who vanished from Halifax, Nova Scotia on August 12th, 1989. So this is a bit of an older case, but it's interesting because we have kind of a personal connection to this area. So there's not a ton of information out there about this case. And she just seemed to vanish, disappear into thin air, and there's not really much of a trace of what happened to her. And so one reason I wanted to do this case, like I said, aside from the fact that it's unsolved and it's a mystery, what happened, but it's also because it's in Nova Scotia, and which is where all of us grew up. In case you didn't know, we're from Nova Scotia. But also because Halifax, I lived there for 10 years, and Steph still lives in the Halifax area. But even more than that, where she disappeared, this parking lot that we're going to be talking about, me and Steph actually worked in one of the stores that shares this parking lot, and we lived in the apartment buildings, multiple apartment buildings that surround this parking lot as well. So we know the area. We've lived there for years. Obviously, this was after this happened, because this happened in 89, and we didn't live there until, 2000, I don't even know, 2008, 9, 10, 11-ish. So anyway, years later, but still interesting, and just that we were in the same area that this happened. So you just never know what's going on wherever you are. So let's get into it. So Kimberly McAndrew was born January 17th, 1970, to Audrey and Cyril McAndrew. And her father was an RCMP officer. And Kimberly had 4 sisters and 1 brother. So they were a big, close-knit family. And the family was originally from Port Hawkesbury, Nova Scotia. And in 1985, they moved to Parsboro, Nova Scotia. So Kim's sister, Megan Adams, told Global News in 2014 that Kimberly was, quote, quiet if out in public, but around family and friends, she was very funny, goofy, and liked to make others laugh, and certainly laugh a lot. She loved Bryan Adams, and she had a close group of friends that she kept throughout the years. And she was just a great girl, one of the most unlikely people that you would expect this to happen to, because she was just not a risk taker, end quote. So an article from missingpeople.ca says that one of her sisters recalls that Kim wanted to be a mom. That was one of the things she strived to be in life. Not just a regular mom. She wanted to be a cool mom. And she wanted to drive her kids around in a convertible. So she, all around, just from what people say, what she wanted to be, she just seems like a normal, down-to-earth, young college student who just wanted to be a mom when she got older. So nothing stands out as a red flag. She didn't hang out with the wrong people, didn't have sketchy friends or anything that anyone ever knew about. And so it makes this more mysterious at why this would happen and how and why she was targeted. So everyone says she was well liked at work, and she was very much loved by her family, of course. So yeah, just no red flags, just what this kind of makes it more mysterious. So like I said, this actually takes place in 1989, and Kimberly was a Dalhousie student, and she was also a part-time cashier at the Canadian Tire on Quinpool Road in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And so August 12th, 1989, she left work early at around 4:20 p.m. Her shift was actually over at 5 p.m., but her boss let her punch out early for whatever reason that day. Whether it was just wasn't busy or Kim had asked if she could go home early. But anyway, she punched out because she intended to go downtown that evening to the Halifax Busker Festival with her boyfriend and her sisters and some friends. And so her sister and her friends and or her boyfriend, different reports say different people tried to pick her up. They drive to Canadian Tire parking lot to pick her up, but she's not there. And then once they realized that she got off early, they kind of retraced the route that she would have taken if she was going to walk back to her apartment. And they don't see any sign of her at all. And there's no sign that she had gotten to the apartment at all. And so there's just no sign. After she kind of walked out the doors of Canadian Tire, there's no sign of her. So reports say that she lived about 15 minutes away from the store where she worked. And she lived there with two of her sisters at the time. So I'm just going to pull up a map of the area just so we can get a visual of what's going on here.
Okay, good. Because I was just trying to look for one. I couldn't find one. Because I was going to show you the exact parking lot where she went missing, but I couldn't find a photo.
Yeah, okay. So let's see. Can you guys see that? Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess she lived on Maxwell Avenue, which is up here. And Google Maps is saying it takes 36 minutes to walk from there to the Quinpool Canadian Tire, which is over here. So, I mean, I don't know if that's super important, but to me, that's over double the amount of time that reports say it would have taken her. So that's double the amount of time for something to have gone wrong. Not 15 minutes, but 36 minutes. So it just makes that window a little bit bigger. Regardless, I mean, I think Google Maps is for a slow walker, because it doesn't take that long for someone to walk, what Google Maps says. Anyway, that's just a small detail. So I just wanted to show you where she lived, the route she probably would have taken, and this is where she was over here, or where she worked. And so here's another view. This is the parking lot of where she worked. And this, like I said, this was back in 1989. This image is from 2018, but I mean, it's probably not that much different. The Canadian Tire store was obviously there. It's just so weird looking back at this because I used to live here, and this was my stomping grounds. And this is a big apartment building here where Steph and I used to live, and the Superstore is here where we used to work. But also over here is another apartment building. And then behind this, on Monastery Lane, there's another apartment building. So, and these apartment buildings were all there back in 1989 as well. I checked that. So it's a very student heavy place because the apartments are, they used to be anyway, cheaper, so students could afford them. So just a lot of people, a lot going on. As you can see, it's a busy place. And the weird thing is she disappeared on a Saturday afternoon in summer. So it's just you just picture her coming out of these doors. This is a parking lot. No one was there to pick her up because she got off early. Which way did she go? And then she's just never seen again. And so back then there wasn't security cameras like there is now. So it really is just disappeared, and nobody saw her after she left those doors.
Because when I was looking at these pictures, because I didn't really need to look at pictures because I can vividly picture it in my mind because I lived there for so long. But the parking lot was always filled with cars, no matter what time of day, what time of during the week, even on the weekend, especially on the weekends, because it was heavily more busier because of students being able to shop, whatever. But to me, especially
it's always busy because as you can see, there's
Go ahead.
Multiple stores, restaurants all around. So there's always something going on. These stores are always open. Even back then, on a Saturday afternoon, it would be busy, I'm sure. This is one of the main streets in Halifax.
And if apartment buildings, they don't always have air conditioning, so the windows would be open. So you'd think somebody would have heard something or seen something not right. Especially in the middle of the...
Yeah.
Well, I guess she didn't go missing in the middle of the day. Or did she go missing in the middle of the day?
Yeah, it was 4:30. She got off work at 4:20 p.m.
Well, that's the thing about this case. Like, someone didn't see anything. I'm assuming she would have screamed. It baffles me. It just baffles me, really.
I know. That's the weird thing. It's just like nobody saw anything out of the ordinary. Just like, I don't know. Someone was either like ready for this and like scooped her up super fast, or, you know, there's like theories maybe she knew somebody that she was comfortable getting into a car with and something happened. Yeah. So it's just
because she got off
crazy.
work 40 minutes early, right?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody would have to known that she got off work early, or she called somebody to say that she was getting off work early. Because how else would it, like, her sisters didn't know she was getting off work early because they went to go pick her up at her normal time, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. There's like no cell phones. You couldn't just like text or call somebody. You just have to call someone from like the work phone. I don't know. It's weird. Or
like, my question is like, did she take a taxi? But nobody said, like, there's no reports of her ever calling a taxi or calling anybody for that matter. So, like, I'm just like, it's like somebody would like that. This is what gets me. Somebody would have to know that she was getting off early, or she would have told somebody she was getting off early because nobody else who was supposed to be there to pick her up knew that.
Or because she got off early, that was just the wrong place, wrong time. If she hadn't gotten off early, it wouldn't have happened.
But I also think it would probably. But I also think it probably was someone. I feel like it has to be someone she knew though, like, because if you know like all the stuff that you hear about this case or like the podcast and stuff, like she was a very, like kind of like an introverted person, like didn't want to. I don't know, just someone who wouldn't get into the car with like a random stranger unless it was like a taxi or something. But like
her sister
if a random stranger,
like her sister said when she lived in Priorsboro, like that's such a small town compared to Halifax that she didn't even like walking to the corner store to get something by herself. So for her to walk out of there and go somewhere by herself doesn't make any sense to me. Like she didn't like going anywhere by herself.
Yeah, that's like the weird thing. I mean, she probably walked back and forth all the time by herself, like from work to her apartment. Maybe, I don't know, because she was getting picked up. Maybe they picked her up all the time. That's the thing, though. Like, if it wasn't planned and someone just like saw her, like, why in the middle of like a packed parking lot would they try something randomly, right? Like, that's the weird thing. If it was in the parking lot, or she had like walked a little bit down the street, but still, Halifax is busy and like in the middle of the day, and in the middle of the summer, I don't know, you just wouldn't think someone would be like, I'm going to even try it.
Like, even in that area, like even if she went around the corner, there's still like so many houses and like stores around that area. Like somebody, and especially in that time, like somebody would have had to seen something. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you can't really hide. Well, I guess you did because nobody found her. Like, no, dude, we don't know where she is. But anyways, that's
the thing, though.
Me.
You have to remember this is 1989, so there might not have been as much development as there is, or maybe there wasn't as many stores. Like, because I'm like thinking of the route, like it was like by Windsor Street, kind of. Like now it's packed full of houses and like just stores, but maybe not back then. But still, I mean, it's still a big city. It's not like it was like, you know, a one-horse town back then. So anyway, it's just weird.
Yeah, that's why I think it has to be. I think it had to be someone she knew, because obviously, if someone she knows, she would get into their car willingly. There's nothing for anyone to witness, like a girl getting into a car of someone she knows. It's nothing. So it's like if somebody dragged her in or like forced her in or something, like I feel like somebody would have to say something. That's really the only explanation I have for it.
Yeah, and I'll get into like a little bit more about that. Maybe some theories about why she may have gotten into a car with someone she didn't know, but I'll leave that until I get to that point in the story. Just so let's continue on here. When Kimberly failed to return home and there was no contact made from her to anyone, her sisters called their parents, and her parents like called the police right away that evening. And like Kimberly was last seen wearing pleated navy slacks, a white short sleeve E-Spirit t-shirt. I think that's what it is, E-Spirit. with red and green squares and a navy oversized cardigan, jade green flat heeled loafers. And that was the last time anyone ever saw her wearing that, walking out of the Canadian Tire back door into the parking lot. And
That's pretty descriptive.
I know. It's like she must have like changed out of her Canadian Tire uniform at work and then walked out. So, yeah.
I think that's the most descriptive thing I've ever heard anybody describe somebody when they went missing.
It is very descriptive, like what her shirt said and everything, and like the colors and like the patterns. Yeah, so I mean, somebody was paying attention to what she was wearing. And so that call to the police opened a missing persons investigation that, like I said, it's like still unsolved to this day, over 35 years later, because there isn't really much really to go on. Like that's basically all we know about what happened that day. But there are like theories and, you know, stories out there. So that's what we're going to kind of dive into. One thing that's always brought up in this case, and like I almost didn't want to talk about it because it's like pretty much like been debunked, like this isn't her, it didn't happen, but there was an unconfirmed sighting of her at a flower shop in Dartmouth at the Penhorn Mall, and this person was seen purchasing one balloon and one rose.
Can I just say, I love unconfirmed sightings. Unconfirmed sightings in the story. It's so interesting. Like I love it.
Yeah, especially when there's multiple and it's just like you're kind of like following a trail of somebody, but you don't actually know if it's them. But this one, like people are now saying that it was unlikely to be her because for one thing, like Dartmouth is way out of the way from anywhere she was going that day. It wasn't like on the way to the buskers because that was downtown Halifax. And for people that don't know, like to get to Dartmouth, the fastest way would be like across the bridge, across the harbor. And it's just like walking across one of those bridges, like this doesn't make sense, especially for her, for someone that was like not comfortable like going places by herself. And like, I mean,
yeah, like oh, sorry, I was just gonna say like, and especially like from what the stuff that I listened to about this case, they said like because she was such a like she didn't like to go places alone and stuff like that, like. And she was from such a small town, she had that mentality, like, going to Dartmouth across the bridge would be, like, kind of like an adventure for her, which was, like, an unnecessary adventure, considering there's lots of shops in the area where if she was going to buy a flower or a balloon, like, she could have done that down the street from where she was. So it's like...
Yeah, because there's a flower shop down the street. But also, like, there is now. I'm not sure if there was then. But
yeah, I've heard people say that there probably was, like, somewhere that she could have bought that stuff.
But it's like, was there any celebration that she was buying? That's like, what was the occasion?
Yeah, I think it was actually her boyfriend's birthday that day. So people are like, okay, maybe she would have bought that for him, but like, why go all the way over to Dartmouth? First of all, I lived in Halifax. I never even thought about walking to Dartmouth ever. Like that was, and for one thing, you like avoided Dartmouth at all costs anyway. Like they call it the dark side. Like no one going over there unless you actually need to. And so it just doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, and she wouldn't have needed to
bus cab over there. There's no reason because then she have to come all the way back to go downtown. Yeah.
Yeah, and especially the added factor to that too is that she did have plans like shortly after. Like she was going to meet up with people and go downtown. Like that's a long journey to go on.
Yeah, like
when you have plans in like an hour.
Like instead of going to the bus, because I'm going to walk to Dartmouth and get some flowers and call it a day. Like
or even take a taxi to Dartmouth though. That's still like far out of the way, unnecessary.
Because she only had
it's just weird.
What she clocked out 40 minutes early before her shift ended, and then her people were going to pick her up after her work, right? So she only had 40 minutes, extra 40 minutes, I guess, to get over to Dartmouth and back again. Like, the time frame doesn't really add up. It doesn't really
And she would have known that even if she took a taxi, she would have known. The chance of taking a taxi, going to Dartmouth, going to the store, buying stuff, taking the taxi back, she's not going to be there on time to meet up with these people.
I don't know, like a taxi when we used to go downtown took forever sometimes, especially on a Saturday evening. Like, it would take forever to get a taxi sometimes because just everybody wants a taxi.
Just go to the flower shop nearby, though. It's just, I don't see why you would go to the Dartmouth.
Well, if the superstore was there, also, they sell flowers.
No, the superstore wasn't there back then. I tried to look that up, and like I think Atlantic Superstore even came to Nova Scotia in like the 1990s. So it wasn't a superstore. Okay. It would like that building was probably there. I don't know what it was, but either way, and why? Even if there wasn't a flower shop, like why do you have to buy your boyfriend one flower for his birthday? Like you could have bought him anything else somewhere else, right? So it just doesn't make sense.
And Penhorn Mall is not close in Dartmouth. Penhall Mall is like almost past the Micmac Mall, if anybody knows what Halifax is. It's like on the other side.
Yeah, it's not like right across the bridge.
It's not that close.
Yeah, so
it's not right across the.
That's what I'm saying. It's not like it was right across the bridge, so she just have to go across and come back. It was just like out of her way completely.
It's like deep into Dartmouth.
It just seems like an unnecessary journey on all fronts.
Yeah. So
like clearly this person wasn't her. Like, clearly. I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. It's not her. That's why it's like people like that like sighting is like entrenched in this case, but it's like pretty much people are agreeing that no, it wasn't her. It doesn't make sense. So I wasn't even going to bring it up, but it's interesting just to talk about anyway. So,
and sorry, just one more thing. Did the person who saw this, who reported this sighting, like, did they say anything specific? Like, did they say, yes, she was wearing those clothes that she was reported to last seen, or just someone who looked like her, sort of?
Yeah, I think it was just someone that looked like her. I don't know. I couldn't really find anything of like talking about what that person was wearing, but it might have just been like how she looked, because like she had. She was like pretty young, 19. She had like kind of curly, wavy, like shoulder length, dirty blonde hair, and she had braces as well. So I mean, if someone maybe saw someone that matched that description, they could think it was her. But I think we can agree that it probably was not. Doesn't make sense.
Like, come on, like an 80s haircut was like all the thing back then, so everybody probably looked the same. Girl and every girl hairstyle probably. So
yeah, like a young girl with like that 80s hairstyle and braces. Yeah. Yeah, so and so initial searches for Kim really led nowhere, and despite her father being an RCMP officer and he was like putting pressure on other RCMP and police like offices in the area, of course they were happy to help him out, trying to, you know, put all their resources to finding her. There really wasn't any solid leads or like evidence at all after. So really nothing for anybody to go on, but there are some theories out there and persons of interest like that maybe could have been involved, but there really isn't a lot of evidence. But I'll go into some of them. So there's this one guy, his name is Andrew Paul Johnson, and when I heard that, I'm like, this name sounds familiar to me. Like, I couldn't remember why. Like, do you guys know why this name would sound familiar to like us in particular?
Wasn't this a name also involved in the Kenley Matheson case?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, I dug into that a little bit more. I was like, yeah, that's why.
Yeah, but I heard that name way before the Kenley case. I don't know why though. But the name was very familiar.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Like, not like someone who was involved in Kenley's disappearance. I think it was just a theory that came up in that case also, like around the same time or something.
Yeah, it came up because like they thought that maybe they had hung out or something, because that guy was like around that area the time Kenley went missing as well.
Like the weekend, remember they went on that weekend trip?
Mm-hmm.
And he was also there or something? I don't...
Yeah. So we covered the Kenley Matheson case in like, what was it, season 4 finale, I think? Or 2-part season 4 finale. So check that out as well.
Probably the best documentary. Probably the best documentary I've ever watched.
Oh, it's so interesting, that documentary. Yeah, what's it called? Missing Kenley or something. Anyway, it's super interesting. Yeah.
On Amazon Prime, if you're in Canada. Very good.
It's a really baffling case as well. And we have a close connection to that one because that happened in Nova Scotia as well, at Acadia. Like, that's where he went, Acadia University, and that's where AJ went to school. So, yeah, interesting.
Those are my stomping grounds.
I also went to band camp at Acadia University, so all right.
And I've been there my life, so
okay, so anyways, Andrew Paul Johnson is a convicted sex offender, and he's serving an indeterminate sentence in British Columbia. Actually, he became a person of interest for a variety of reasons in this case. So before he moved to BC, he was admitted to a psychiatric hospital in 1994, and former detective Tim Martin explained that while Johnson was participating in a sexual offender rehabilitation program in Halifax or Dartmouth, Andrew Paul Johnson was tasked with writing an essay from the victim's perspective. And so I guess this is like just a exercise that they would do, like pretend you're the victim and see how they would feel. And he chose to depict the rape and murder of Kimberly McAndrew. And like this choice obviously was significant and like raised concerns because obviously there's no evidence or nobody knows what happened to Kim, so they don't even know if she was raped or murdered. And the fact that he picked her randomly, it's obviously super suspicious. And like I don't know if they had to pick like a real case and pretend you were the victim or like just make up a case and pretend you're the victim. But the fact that he picked her and saying that she was raped and murdered is like super sus when there's like no evidence of that at all. So unless he knows something that nobody else knows, like why would he pick that, right? So that's really eerie. And so Johnson has a history of offenses such as trying to lure young girls into his car by pretending to be a police officer. And he's a gross guy. He was like caught masturbating in his car while watching young girls in the Halifax area. And he was caught with a mentally disabled 20-year-old woman in his car. And some reports say that she was under the impression that she was with a police officer. That's why she was in his car. And so this brings up like that point that I was talking about, like maybe if he pretended to be a police officer and if he was convincing and he maybe knew Kimberly's father was a police officer, do you think that he could have been like, oh, I know your dad, or you need to ride somewhere, like, I'm a police officer, I can help you out? And do you think she would have been like more willing, or would she have been more cautious because her father was a police officer and maybe he taught her to not trust people? Like, what do you think about him pretending to be a police officer? Do you think that would have made her...
That is such a good point. I never even thought of that, like the connection there. Yeah, maybe she would be more cautious, I would think, maybe.
But how would he know that her dad was a police officer? Like, unless he was stalking her or like knew her family, because it wasn't like researchable at that time in the 80s. Like, you can't go on Google and type, you know what I'm saying? Like, that would be a very weird thing for someone to know unless they...
And he would have to know that she got off early.
But
if he was
oh, sorry, go ahead, sir.
If he was stalking her, then like that seems more liable though, because like she got off early, so like somebody would have to know that. And he would have to be waiting for her outside.
But also, maybe he didn't know her family. He didn't know. He never even said, this was just me like speculating. Maybe he never even said it, oh, I know your father. Maybe he was just like, I'm a police officer. Do you need a ride somewhere? And maybe in her mind, because her father's a police officer, maybe, you know, he knows him. She'd be like more willing to get in the car. And he just happened to see her out in the parking lot and came up to her. Like, that doesn't mean he knew she was getting off early. He might not have known her. He just saw her, and this ruse had worked before. So maybe it worked on her.
That's what I mean.
I don't know.
That 20 minutes to change everything, I think. She hadn't gotten off early. Yeah.
I know. I feel like that was just like so like unfortunate timing where like if just a little bit of shift in time, if she had gotten off at the right time, her friends would have been there. She would have got picked up and everything would have been fine. But yeah. So, yeah, it's just interesting about this like police officer connection kind of. So I don't know if that has really anything to do with it, but just
if he was like, was he known to police in Nova Scotia by that point? Maybe he knew, like he saw, maybe he knew that from that, like he knew the officers because he had got arrested or something. I can't quite remember his history.
So I'm not sure if him knowing, I'm not sure if him pretending to be a cop had anything to do with like luring Kimberly at all, or if that's just like an interesting thing, like sort of a connection. But anyway, just an interesting thing to bring up. And so, okay, yeah, and so the Andrew Paul Johnson was also caught with like what people are calling like a rape kit in his car. It was a meat cleaver, a mask. He had pornographic materials, lubricant, and toy handcuffs in his possession, like kind of all in this pack. So that's like sketchy as hell. And there's also reports that he in 1992 pleaded guilty to confining and sexually assaulting his Halifax girlfriend at the time. And his girlfriend actually lived in one of those apartments that I had showed you in the parking lot that surrounded Canadian Tire on Monastery Lane. So it's like he could have been there because his girlfriend lived there. He was familiar with the area. Like, he could have been there that day and just like took advantage of the opportunity, seeing Kim by herself. So like those are why he's a person of interest, because he kind of has like a connection and a really sketchy background.
It would seem like he got caught for all the other ones, but this one he left no evidence. Like, it seems like why was he so good at covering this one up, you know?
Yeah, I know, it's so weird. And like, yeah, like some of his actual, like he was connected. Like, the thing is, like, he is connected to like a bunch of these murders, but he didn't get, like, he's not convicted of a lot of them. Like, he's just like sort of a person of interest. So it was like he was actually like just unlucky and connected to all these things that he wasn't actually a part of, or he's like just really good at covering his tracks. I don't know. It's like scary either way. But he was connected to the murder of Andrea King, who was an 18-year-old woman from British Columbia, but she disappeared after shortly arriving in Halifax in 1992. And her remains were found in Lower Sackville. And then in December of 1992, Johnson... he was linked to her case because of similarities in the victim profiles and his presence in the area during the time of her disappearance. So I guess he was in the area and she went missing in that area and murdered. So it's like, I'm not like he's the only person in that area during that time, but no direct evidence was ever like publicly disclosed to implicate him. So it was just like, again, could have been him, but nothing to prove it. There's also a man named Stephen Michael Hall, who was a 30-year-old man. He was found dead in the woods near Chester, Nova Scotia. And in 1996, Johnson was considered a suspect in his death, although like why and the evidence linking him to that case has never been made public. So I don't know if there just really isn't anything, or they're just keeping that hidden from the public for whatever reason. So it's like he's connected, but hasn't really been able to be like pinpointed for some of these murders. And in the 90s, the Halifax police and the RCMP established a joint task force, and they named it Operation Full Course. And this was to investigate cold cases, and it included those of Kimberly McAndrew, Andrea King, and Stephen Hall. And Johnson was the primary focus of this operation due to his potential links to the multiple unsolved cases. So yeah, it's just like linked to all these cases, but could never be proved to be really involved in any of them. So another theory out there was that there was an unidentified man who reportedly was kind of like stalking Kimberly, and he would take pictures of her and he followed her home on multiple occasions. And this guy was actually seen speaking to her inside the Canadian Tire store just hours before she left that day she disappeared. And despite those reports and people like seeing him and like knowing that he was stalking her, this person has never been identified or located. So like nobody knows who he is. So like that seems like a promising lead, but like no, even though people knew that this was happening, nobody knows who he was and like can't track him. So that's just very suspicious. And then another theory.
I don't know. To me, I was going to say, to me, I don't know. It's case closed. I think if they find that person, I think that's probably the person who did it. I mean, what are the chances?
I was just going to say,
there is this person stalking her. Like, I feel like on the day that she disappeared, like he probably just went to the parking lot and hung out for a couple hours, knowing she'd be off soon. And yeah. I don't know.
I was just going to say, like,
I need to find out the person.
I was like, I'd never heard of it before. So yeah, no, not a mystery no more.
I know. It seems like that's probably what happened, right? Like this guy who was actually obsessed with her and like knew where she lived and followed her home before and like was there that day she disappeared. But I just find it weird that people knew, like they'd seen him before, not just that day. And they knew that he had followed her home a couple times, but like nobody knows who this guy is. It's just, I don't know. It just seems really weird, right? But yeah, it seems like, okay, he probably did it. And there's another theory. This man named Michael Wayne McGray, who is actually a convicted serial killer who was active in the area during the late 1980s and early 1990s. And he was another person of interest in this case. And he actually confessed to multiple murders, but he can't remember if Kimberly was actually one of his victims. So, I mean, this guy's pretty disgusting. He killed so many people, he can't even remember who they were or doesn't care enough to, like, know their names or really, like, what happened or what he did with them because, you know, he can't remember if he did or not. So some of his confirmed victims were a woman named Elizabeth Gale Tucker. She was a 17-year-old hitchhiker from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And he confessed to murdering her in 2001. And then there was another guy named Mark Daniel Gibbons. He was killed during a botched robbery in St. John, New Brunswick. And then there was two men, Robert Astley and Gaetan Ether, in 1991. I probably butchered those names. But they were two men murdered in Montreal. And they were murdered during like a weekend furlough from prison that, you know, McGray was able to go out for the weekend for whatever reason from prison, and he murdered them on his trip out.
Yeah, because he obviously deserved that benefit.
I know. I don't know how anyone. I don't know. Yeah, just go out, have a good weekend, come back to prison, please, on Monday. Like, fuck off. And then Joan Hicks and her daughter Nina in 1998. This was a mother and her 11-year-old daughter were found dead in Moncton, New Brunswick. And McGray was convicted of both those murders. And then the last one is Jeremy Phillips in 2010. McGray's cellmate who, at Mountain Institution in British Columbia. So McGray had actually strangled his cellmate, this Jeremy Phillips. And he later stated that he would kill again if he was given the opportunity. So hopefully he doesn't get any more furloughs from prison and he's just kind of like in there forever now. Hopefully they learned their lesson on that. And he actually claimed to have been responsible for up to 18 murders across US and Canada, but many of them have not been verified. And like I said, he just can't remember who some of them are. So just like a bunch of victims out there that nobody knows who did it, if they were his, and he doesn't even know. So it's pretty like sketchy, sad situation there. So back to Kimberly's case. In 1995, Halifax police enlisted a psychic named Noreen Rayner, and she claimed to channel. She was like one of those like mediums or whatever that could like channel people's spirits, whether they were alive or dead. And so she was a self-proclaimed psychic detective from Florida, and she was known for her work in over 600 homicides and missing persons cases, apparently, according to some sources. So I don't know if she was like involved and like helped them in these cases, or if she was just like a psychic, like just doing her own thing on these cases and didn't actually help at all. But she was involved in 600 cases. So, you know, whether she was helpful or just kind of like in the way, doesn't actually say, but her name comes up for some of them. So anyway, and despite her assurance that Kimberly's body would be found by Christmas of that year, no evidence was ever discovered, ever. And everything, like, she would say things like, oh, she went out the front door. Like, I can channel her, and I can see that she came out the front door of Canadian Tire. But it's confirmed that she actually went out the back door. Like, it's just like things like that. She's like, I'm dead wrong on everything. So that didn't really go anywhere. And so, of course, Kimberly's family never gave up on her, and authorities never gave up. And in March 2013, the Halifax Regional Police, the Major Crimes Unit, conducted a significant search in Shad Bay in Nova Scotia, which is a rural community approximately 25 kilometers west of Halifax. And this operation was part of an ongoing investigation into Kimberly's murder. So they're kind of like, this case is still open and they're still chipping away at it. And this search was focused on a property like on Prospect Road out in Shad Bay. And it was owned by the brother of Andrew Paul Johnson, who, of course, we just talked about. And even though they searched, they excavated the yard and they examined like the wooded area behind the property, they never actually found anything related to Kimberly's case. So I don't know why they searched. It's probably like a tip, or just thinking that if like Andrew Paul Johnson was connected. This is where he used to live, or his brother's property, so I just went out there. But anyway, didn't find anything. So either he was just really good at covering his tracks, or he didn't have anything to do with it. I feel like we're not really ever going to know. Yeah, and so like with these kinds of like missing persons cases, there's no evidence of foul play. The thought is that the person could have just left on their own free will. Like, I think we've done lots of cases where there's theories that come up where, oh, they probably just like wanted to get away from their life and they just like left their life forever. Or maybe they left their life and then something happened to them afterwards. But this theory kind of lost credibility pretty quickly because Kimberly's bank account was never touched. And so you would think, even if you're going to disappear from your life, you still need money. You still need the money that you had before. There's no withdrawals. There's no credit cards used. She had an uncollected paycheck that she never collected or cashed. So you'd think you'd still want that. Of course, she never contacted anybody else, even anonymously. Like, there was never like any contact. Someone thinking that maybe it could have been her, but trying to be anonymous. That never happened. And of course, her family says, like, for her to disappear, that would be super unlike her. Like, there's no reason for her to do that. She was happy. She had plans for the future. So she wasn't involved in anything sketchy. So, yeah, there's just really no evidence that she would have just got up and left her life. Yeah, and then, of course, years later, homicide detectives and cold case specialists like agreed that this is probably an abduction and probable homicide, not a voluntary disappearance. And it wasn't until 2004 that Halifax police officially stated that they believe that Kimberly met with foul play. So, I mean, Jesus, that's like seems like a long time for them to finally be like, yeah, it probably was foul play, even though they were searching the whole time. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of everything that I have on this case. Super, like, just mysterious, like, what happened. What are your guys' like final thoughts?
Well, one thing that I didn't know if you were going to mention it, so I was going to mention it at the end, was I was watching, I can't remember, I think it might have been the Trace Evidence podcast or channel on YouTube that does a case on this, but there was in the comments section, like I kind of read the comment section, I just want to see what people are saying, and there was kind of some comments or some talk. I don't know if this was a highly debated theory or if it's even credible at all, but people were saying something about like wanting or wishing that they had looked into maybe someone at the Canadian Tire, like one of the employees or someone she worked with who, like, I don't know. And they didn't really go obviously into there's nothing to ever to substantiate this at all, but just a theory of like if it was someone who knew that someone was going to be coming to pick her up at 5:00, so they let her off early so that they knew that no one would be there at that time, and maybe set up someone else to do something or whatever, or something had happened, or there was something that some people commenting saying things like something had happened to her in the store, like somebody attacked her in the store, like she never left the store. Because there was never any like footage to say she left the store. Was there like no surveillance footage or anything? People just say she walked out and left. But like,
yeah,
people were, I don't know. So I think
there's like confirmation that she walked out the back door, but yeah, the eyewitnesses, but like, yeah, there's no actual footage. I don't think of that happening.
AJ, that's funny.
Yeah,
That's funny that you mentioned that because like I also listened to the Evidence podcast. And I also read the comments, and I was just going to actually say that. So it's funny that you say that.
And I also, and I did go, after I read that, I like looked this up on Reddit. Like there's like a Reddit, rabbit hole on this, about this case. But there were comments there somewhere that I found that kind of suggested something like that too. Like just a theory, nothing that was ever, nothing substantiated it or nothing like shady. But people were just saying, is it a possibility that someone that she worked with maybe was involved and let her off early?
That's what I was thinking. Like maybe she, like someone was infatuated with her and like they tried to like hit on her while she was at work, and she just told them that she had a boyfriend and that she didn't think of that person that way, and maybe they got mad and like attacked her while she left the store, and like
the guy that was like stalking her, right? Like I would think that he knew where she lived, so he could have been following her, and then at the opportunity when there was like nobody around, that's when he grabbed her. That seems logical.
It's like mind blowing that nobody actually looked into the people that she worked with, because like normally, like when somebody goes missing from the place that they worked from, the first thing they do is like interview those people to see like.
Well, they might have. They might have.
They did, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
Maybe,
like they
yeah.
probably was nothing, so they just didn't. It's not really in anything because it's something that they looked into and
yeah, like
closed.
Obviously,
right?
like obviously they interviewed people she worked with because that's how they know that she left work early. Like obviously someone at work said she left. We let her go early at this time. Like so obviously that came from interviews with people she worked with. But like I don't really think there's anything like necessarily to that theory. But I just wanted to throw it out there to see if you got what you guys thought, because I was like, that would have been an opportunity. Like if they know someone's coming to pick her up at 5:00, like okay, we'll let her go early, and then maybe there's going to be someone waiting for her. That I don't know. That's like far fetched. But I'm just thinking like that was something that people were talking about online anyway.
Well,
so.
yeah, or like a coworker could have like agreed to drive her home or something, and something could have happened on the way, and you know they killed her because they tried to put a move on her, and then it seems like extreme, but you never know. But I don't think that doesn't come up a lot or ever in the research that I saw. So I feel like that really isn't a possibility, because I think that they would know if another coworker was off at the same time, or you know. They were seen leaving together, but there's nothing like that. So,
like, I just think it's very obvious that she really didn't get far at all from work. Like, she went out the door. She didn't get far down the road because there was like literally no one ever said they saw her except this one sighting in Dartmouth that we don't think was actually her. So it's like the fact that nobody saw her when she left, like she had to have been picked up right there or very close. Like she didn't get like within seconds. So that's either someone she knows, like maybe someone she worked with who offered to drive her home, or someone else outside of work who was there. I don't know. It's just weird. Or this guy pretending to be a cop. I don't know. But
or maybe somebody like
weird.
Told her, if you don't get in the car, like I'm gonna hurt your family or whatever, until she got in the car. Like you know, like, do you know what I mean?
But nobody saw that. Like I feel like you would still see. I don't know. But I guess they're just seeing someone getting into a car. They don't necessarily know the reason.
Yeah, like if she's not like, she doesn't have like a worried look on her face, or like she's not screaming or like struggling to get away, then nobody's gonna really know like what went on, right?
Yeah, that's true. They just see her talking, maybe talking to her. They see her talking to someone in the car, or like someone talking to her from the car, and then she gets in. Like they're not going to report that.
And that's not like a sketchy situation. You're not going to like remember that, oh, someone was talking to somebody else in their car. Like that like it's such a common thing. You would never ever remember that. But also, we don't know if it was actually the parking lot where she disappeared, right? Because I mean, that like I showed you before, there was like 36-minute walk. Anywhere along there, I feel like she could have been abducted as well, right?
But no one ever said they saw her. But I guess, yeah.
But still,
no one saw
like,
her.
A random person walking down the street, who's going to remember that in a city full of people, right? Like if nothing stood out, why would anyone remember that? And if someone like pulled up beside her and she got in, no one's going to remember that. Like it's just not memorable, right? So
that's true. Yeah. Like if someone's walking and then the people came to them the next day and said, "Did you see someone when you were walking that looked like this?" Like you don't remember. You don't remember the exact people you're walking past in a busy area. You're just walking past.
It just
unless there's like something notable.
It's just weird. Like she would even take a drive home. Like doesn't she usually walk home? Like unless it's someone who drives so often, maybe. Like I don't know. Why would she get a ride somewhere when she usually does the walk? I don't know. I found that weird that she would really, like someone offered her a ride. I don't know. I don't believe that part.
But maybe because she like had plans in a short amount of time, so she's like, I'll just get the drive. I'll be home earlier and have more time to get ready or something. I don't know. Because how long would you say was the walk from work to?
Like when I look at Google Maps, it says like 36-minute walk.
But like
so she got off at 4:20. She would have been getting home right around 5 when she would get off work, which I guess isn't the worst thing. But maybe she thought, I'll get a drive home and I'll be home in.
Yeah, because if people were going to come pick her up, then they would already been at work. Or they would have been at her work to pick her up at 5, and she would have just been getting home. So it's like maybe she wanted to like avoid that, right? Like they're there to pick her up, but she's not there. So if I get a drive, I'll get home, tell them I don't need a drive. Obviously, I don't know, but I feel like she definitely wouldn't get in a car with someone she didn't know. It could have been like an acquaintance or someone she knew from school or work, and they just like, hey, you need to drive. Obviously, she wouldn't just get in a car with someone she didn't know for sure.
It's someone she knew for sure, or someone like Steph said, like get in the car, or like threatened her or something. And I don't know. But also, I don't know. Like, if someone drives up to you and get in the car, and you're in a busy area, just run away, yell something. I don't know. There's other options. I feel.
Yeah.
Unless they had a gun to her, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Like,
I don't know. Why would someone go through that?
I know it happens all the time.
Yeah, but it just seems weird. Why would a random person go through that in the middle of the day in a city to abduct a random person? Like, there's easier. I feel like there's easier and like better ways and times to do that, right? But
I feel like if it was someone she knew,
I feel
like if it was someone she knew, like like get into the car, like they didn't think of one person on this list. Like no one popped up suspicious. I find that weird. Not one friend. Like I don't know. Usually you see on these when this happens, you see one friend showed up the next day late for work or you know what I mean? Like something is off about a certain someone, and there was nothing like that. That's very odd.
Yeah, there's no one that she knew that like came up as suspicious or like the police had any reason to suspect. So yeah, it's odd.
I mean, unless it's someone she knew that no one else knew she knew. Like, you know what I mean? Like
That's
maybe
true. Someone she knew from school
having an affair with a boyfriend or something.
Yeah, or it's like a classmate that nobody's not going to know, a random classmate, right? That she saw or that she knew, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. But like somebody, and maybe an acquaintance, like someone she knew well enough to maybe feel comfortable getting in a car with them, but not like a best friend or
someone
something.
or not someone that like her friends and her sisters knew about at all. So yeah, it's weird.
It's like, where would she be now, though? Like, there's no trace of her anywhere. Like, that's crazy to me.
I know. And I think, I can't remember why they did this, but I think it might have been because of that psychic or it's like another tip. But they like were searching Point Pleasant Park, which is in Halifax. And they were searching a lot of like water wells to see if, I think because the psychic has said, oh, she's near water or something. And they were searching all these wells and like the lakes and stuff. And they had never found anything either. So it's just like, if someone randomly killed her and dumped her somewhere, like they would have found her body a long time ago. So yeah, it's like
most psychics say they found
where
people
is
by
she?
water.
Yeah.
I was going to say, isn't there other cases?
Also,
there's
Halifax
other cases
is like
psychics
right by the harbor. It's just like everywhere you are in Halifax is right beside the water. But anyway.
But if it was like a random,
I feel like no, go ahead.
If it was like if it's an acquaintance that no one else knows about, and then he never popped up on the radar, she's probably in a random backyard of the millions of homes there, and they're never gonna find. Like how are you gonna find that?
Go ahead.
That's true.
Like how are you gonna find? It's like a needle in a haystack. How are you gonna find the right house out of a like you don't even know who you're looking for? You know, like it should.
Yeah, but also but they're gonna be looking in Halifax. All it takes is someone to drive an hour away outside of Halifax, and they're not going to be looking in that area necessarily. So it could have been in like a wooded area, like an hour away.
You remember like when we used to live there, people always told us never to walk in the commons by ourselves, like the common, like that area.
Oh yeah.
But maybe like I don't know what back then, but like maybe she walked through there and like somebody snatched her up, but she wouldn't walk that way if she was going.
Yeah, let me look at this map here.
She might have done. Because now it's like super developed, so it's not really the commons is not empty grass area now, but back then, like it was,
let's see,
grass field.
For some reason, I always thought she had gotten missing in the parking lot. I don't know why, I just pictured that, which always was crazy to me, but it very well could have been just walking down the road, but I don't know why I always I don't know why I thought it actually happened in the parking lot at 4 p.m. with people around everywhere.
That's, I think, is kind of like the common thought, though, is that, like, yeah, someone snatched her in the parking lot in the middle of the day, which I don't know if that's actually true. Like, like you said.
So,
I don't know.
Over here, like, Roby Street, Cogswell
Where are the commons?
Road,
I can't even find.
Cobred Street, Bell Road, right here. See where it says Cogswell? And Halifax Citadel, National Historic Site, like that area.
This is the commons here, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, there's no like that little bit out of the way. Like she wouldn't have went that way and then back up this way.
But if she Yeah, but
it's a dangerous. Yeah, this is a dangerous place. Like even now, they say don't walk through the commons at night by yourself.
Yeah.
And even just Halifax in general. I think when we lived there, it was even a pretty dangerous city, and back then I think it was as well. And it used to be called Little Detroit. No offense to Detroit, but that's what they used to call it. So, yeah.
But that just came to my mind because, like, I mean, I know it's kind of out of the way, but like, I remember when we lived there, like, everybody was saying, like, if you're gonna go downtown, like, never walk home by yourself through the commons. Even though I did the basement night I lived there. However,
I know.
But like, I'm just saying, like, that's like everybody would like was a well-known dangerous place to walk by yourself, especially women by yourself. And she was like roughly the same age I was when I moved there. So, like, it was just I was done, but
it also wasn't nighttime. It's 4 p.m. It's also not nighttime. So even if she did walk through there, it's not darkness.
That's true too. Yeah. And it was summer, so it would have been filled with people.
Yeah, it's like
we used to go there and like lay on the grass.
It's like buskers
and
like
tourists and stuff.
Tourists from everywhere. Buskers. It could be someone who doesn't even live there. It could be someone from the States that came down for the buskers. Then
that's a good point. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like somebody who.
Yeah, it could have been a busker or just someone that's visiting.
But then it's still. Yeah, but then you still have but then you still have the thing if it's someone random. Why is she going to get in the car with someone she doesn't know, and how did no one see it? But I think it had to be someone she knew. I think.
Yeah, because she was very quiet, right? She was a very quiet, shy, introverted person. So for her to get into a car with somebody she doesn't know is unlike her.
But that doesn't mean she wasn't forced in.
True.
Yeah, but then no one saw it.
Someone could have done it just super fast. They could have got her in there, and just no one noticed, and there's no surveillance. So I don't know.
And I always think like
that one guy, that Johnson. Yeah, like that Johnson guy, he seems to be getting away with a lot of stuff that people think he did, but they have no proof. So he was obviously sneaky about it. I don't know.
And I mean, I guess it happens all the time. Like people.
They don't have any DNA, right? They don't have any DNA evidence because they don't never found her body, and like they can't do anything forensically.
No,
because there's nothing there to do, right?
But I was just gonna say though, I think like every time a case like this in Halifax or in like Vancouver, I always think like sex trafficking is my go-to because I'm like Halifax is a hub. For those of you who don't know, Halifax is like a huge like sex trafficking, human trafficking problem, which I think is a kind of true of any like port city. Like any city on the coast that's a port city, like they have problems with this. Yeah, so anytime of like something like so like, and Halifax obviously is a port city. So I feel like when people go missing without a trace in Halifax, I always think, especially if it's like a woman, I always immediately jump to that, which probably, I don't know, I just do, which hopefully is not what happened. Like, I don't know, but that's just like what I thought of first off. So I don't know. If it was like some random person who just snatched her, like, wasn't anything about her in particular. It was just wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. But I don't know.
Yeah. So that's it for this episode.
We didn't really have it. Yeah, that's kind of it. But
yeah,
unsolved.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll ever be solved. Like if I would find out who did it. I always wonder about it. Every couple of years, I go back and look at it and see if there's any new leads or anything.
I know. Every time there's always like this few cases, like Maura Murray's one of them, and this one, whenever they find like remains in the area where these had taken place, they always jump in my mind like, oh, that could be her, but obviously it never is. But yeah, I wonder if they ever will find any trace. It's crazy. It's scary. Disappear. Like you walked out the door and that was it.
So that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed listening to our opinions or takes on it, and thank you to Lisa, our special guest for the week. Who knows, she might even be back on the podcast at some point, so you might not have seen the last of Lisa, but you can find us on all the social medias, Crime Family Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Crime Family Podcast, TikTok, Crime Family Podcast. Just search the podcast name on any of the platforms and you will find us. Also, you can email us, crimefamilypodcast@gmail.com, and send us your case suggestions or your feedback or anything like that. We love to hear from you. And we will be back with a brand new case, a brand new episode. We'll be back with a brand new episode next week. And until then, take care. Bye.
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 Bye.